Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Just want to say thank you for all the likes and shares on the previous videos, and obviously all the comments. So what we mentioned in a previous video is that when choosing to come back to the hobby, I was obviously looking for a platform to get into and a car that would basically be budget friendly and start me back into it, and something I could actually work on bit by bit. So we looked at the Arrma Boost range, which is just about to come out. Now I actually placed an order with Model Sport. This was actually a present from my wife for the Arrma Vortex Boost. Now the Vortex Boost basically is a beginner's car. It comes brushed with a 2-in-1 speed controller, basic servo, and you know, the platform itself, they were advertising it as obviously you could upgrade the platform. So obviously the upgrades began. Now most things that I do, I like to try and get the most out of everything that I purchase. And what we ended up with is something completely different, and I'll show you why in a second. But long and short, obviously I'd like to thank my wife for getting me back into it, really enjoying being back into it as well. So what I'm going to do now is quickly go down and show you the car. Now this might confuse you, alright, bear with me and I'll explain. So it's quite an interesting video, this one, so I'll see you down below. Right guys, so I haven't gone mad, alright. This is actually my Vortex Boost. Now, let me explain. This car, as I said, started out as a Vortex Boost. Alright, so bit by bit I've ended up upgrading the vehicle. And now I'm at a point where basically it's now a Typhoon, except for caveat of the shock towers there and there. And that is pretty much about it. Oh, sorry. And also no, actually it's just the shock towers. It's only the shock towers and the shocks. And this is what made me really fall in love with the 3S range, is the fact that everything is interchangeable between each car, and as long as you buy the right parts, you can end up with something completely yours. So this is now basically what I would class as a Vorphoon. All right, so it is mainly Typhoon, but there is a sprinkle of Vortex actually in the vehicle, and I've actually checked a few upgrades onto this as well, and we go through in a second. But just give you a quick tour around the car. As you can see, a great big wing on the back. I'll explain why. Okay, what we'll do is take the body off and we'll go into the upgrades. So this is with the body off. Okay, so let me just explain what I've done. So for me to get it to this part, I have kept a sprinkle of bits and bobs of the previous vehicle, and I've upgraded loads. What you're looking at is a Typhoon / Big Rock long wheelbase chassis. All right, this is actually the drive center for the 4-wheel boost upgrade. So the car initially came with 2-wheel drive only, all right, and then what you needed to purchase from Arrma was the actual center drive shaft, and it comes with the diff. So the car initially, as I mentioned, was brush power. Now I've gone through various iterations, different motors and stuff like that, and we had a little fire as well, which I ended up now with the BLX 100. So the last thing I've actually put into the car is this eBay servo, 20 kilogram. It's a servo, nice and fast response time, 0.9, and pretty much like the EcoBoost I've just put into the DR8. You got some rocket fans on there. The motor is actually now 3665 3100 kV from Surpass. Alright, I managed to pick this up off AliExpress for, I think it was £20. Previous to that, I did have a 3652 Hobby Wing. What was the KV rating? I think that was a 3250 or 3300 might have been. But the problem being, it was a small can, so the car was a bit hesitant under acceleration because of the lack of torque in the motor, which made me then use this motor in this car. So going around the front, what I did, as I said, I purchased the long wheelbase chassis. Decided to keep the Vortex front shock towers. The reason which I quite liked the way the car handled, alright, and thought, well, at the end of the day, if something I could actually save a few quid on was the shock towers. If I can get away with not using them, I will, because obviously I still had the shock towers. I ended up buying composite links instead of adjustables, and the reason behind which is I find these for bashing actually really good. There's a guy on YouTube that I follow, What's New Today, and he actually puts this back on his Vortex. So rather than using the adjustables, he stuck with the composites, and it's mainly because they are absolutely brilliant. They don't tend to bend or snap or anything like that. I did also change the whole car, the metal pillow balls, hot racing pillow balls. Alright, and that actually stops any movement in the steering, because they are prone to wearing out. They come with composite balls, and basically through use and time those balls wear out, and then you actually get play in the steering and everything moves about. Now, one of the variations of me actually using this car, okay, I did initially purchase it was when I was still trying to get used to everything. I did actually purchase a Surpass motor, but it was only a 3650, and it was a combo, all right. It was an 80 amp combo, and it came with an ESC. Now, you might have seen my posts on the Arrma forums, also on Facebook, on various different Arrma groups, and we had a bit of a fire, guys. All right, so I found a gentleman, and this is where the value comes in, guys. Don't be ashamed of buying second-hand parts, because if they work, they're brilliant. So make sure you're buying off someone who's a little bit well known in the community, off Facebook or eBay or something like that. And I managed to pick up this BLX 100 for grand total, I think it was about £32 at the time, of a guy called Chris Bradford, I think it was. And fair shout to him. It came here. The only thing I did notice was the tabs on the ESC, obviously for where you would normally mount it, were actually broken. So what I decided to do is get a bit of servo tape, and I've chassis mounted it because it's better for the Typhon anyway. So obviously the weight is lower down. And I've then, if you look at the bottom of the car, put two little holes through, and that's holding the servo in. And to be fair, it's not moved. When I went from brushed, obviously, to brushless, one of the things you do need to buy as well, guys, is a receiver. So I have actually bought the SLR 300 receiver from Spectrum, and actually put that in, because unfortunately with the car comes with a speed controller and receiver all in one. So this was the servo I purchased, if anyone's interested. Model number might be on the side, it doesn't look like actually, but there you go. Now, my latest purchase was actually the 3S slipper. Now, one thing I do see quite often on the forums is, can I use, the car initially comes with 48 DP gears, all right, so very fine tooth, and I had a bit of advice, obviously when going to brushless, because I was tearing up spur gears right, left and centre. So what I actually did, all right, friend of mine on Facebook, Andrew Casey, and he said obviously he just converted his Vortex over, but what he actually used was an Infaction spur gear and 32 DP pinions. This is 0.8 bond gearing, and that's what is actually in all the Arrma 3S range. So I would recommend you actually doing that if you're going to actually put brushless power through any of the brushed cars. Is change the spur gear over to a 32 DP, and you could go down the route of using the boost slipper. If you're using a small cam motor, something like a 3650, you can get away with it, but you will need to tighten that slipper down a fair bit. The other thing is as soon as you actually start putting a lot of torque through it, they do tend to scream a fair amount. All right, so what I actually did is I've just purchased from a guy called Tim, second-hand 3S slipper assembly, and I've actually used my Big Rock spur gear in here because I've changed the Big Rock over to a metal spur gear. So with that, I'm actually running a 20 tooth pinion, and because of the motor, it does tend to work very, very well actually. Big recommendation on these fan guys as well. These are absolutely amazing for keeping temperatures down. I've got one. These are made by Surpass Hobby. They're called the Rocket fans. As you can see, this one's been rebranded by Racing Bolts on eBay. And I've also got one in the ESC as well. So the fan sizes you're going to need is 25mm for your ESC and 13mm for your motor. All right. You could put a bigger fan on there if you wanted to, it's up to you, but 30mm is absolutely fine. So this one spins up at 28,000 RPM, and you can actually, it really sounds like it's taking off. 28,000 RPM, and that one's 30,000 RPM. So yeah, I'm actually running a 3S slipper in there now, and also 20 tooth pinion, 0.8 mod. They're basically rock solid, to be fair to them. And as long as you look after, obviously do a bit of maintenance now and again, I would say they're generally pretty good. 3S motor mount, the BLX motor mount, the red ones, I haven't had a great experience with these, mind, I'll be honest with you. In the Big Rock, I actually bent that on the second time I actually took it out, so I'm waiting to see how this one goes, but this one's going to be my road basher anyway. What else have I done? Just changed the tyres over to Jetco rock forms, and the reason being is they have got a nice firm, these are belted as well guys, because if you're going to be running on road, one thing I will suggest is obviously using a belted tyre. It's going to be high traction surfaces I'm going to be putting this car on, so things like gravel, tarmac, that sort of thing, and the odd bit of grass here and there. On the back of the car, as you can see, what we're actually using is a Creighton wing, and the reason behind which I found the Creighton wing actually gave the back of the car a bit of stability. Nice big wing on there to keep it down. We've changed the bumpers over, as you can see. This car, bearing in mind guys, this car is used on a regular basis. I've shimmed everything as well. The other thing is RPM arms. I do recommend these, especially if you're running something like a Big Rock or a Vortex, or maybe something like I don't know, Senton or the Typhon. RPM arms got a bit more play in them, so I haven't actually had any of the Arrma ones break on me, but what I will say is I've seen plenty of people out there actually breaking the arms on a regular basis when they're bashing. And the beauty of the RPM arms is they do flex a little bit more, so that will actually, there's a bit of give in the arms themselves when you're coming off jumps and stuff like that, so that's a good thing. What else can I mention? Oh, obviously the Typhon body, and then on the front of the car, Typhon front bumper. So bearing in mind, on the Vortex has got shorter chassis for number one. It's actually got shorter arms. Oh, and one of the big upgrades for me as well is the 70mm wheel conversion, the wheel nut conversion. As you can see, 70mm hexes. They're made by my good friend at Custom RC Upgrades. As you can see, these have actually saved my neck a few times. They have had a bit of a scraping on the side, but the beauty of them sticking out a bit is as you can imagine. So there's a wall. Instead of actually clouting the wheel, you're clouting the wheel nut. But really, really nice piece of kit, well machined, very easy to put on. I have replaced several diffs, and the reason I'm going to say is I found a little... the diffs themselves, due to manufacturing, do have a little bit of imperfection on them now and again. So what I tend to do is take the diff out, get myself a fine sandpaper, like something like 1000 grit. I'll actually attach the diff to the chuck of the drill, and I'll just run the sandpaper around the actual diff, and that tends to smooth it all out. So the input gear at the rear of the car, and also the diff, that tends to be why the car is chewing up the HD input gears. And I found since doing that, number one, the car runs a lot smoother, a lot quieter. Number two, I don't seem to be going through input gears nowhere near as much. So yeah, I basically created a brand new car. I say brand new, but this one's been used loads. But as you can see, there's the siphon arms. Again, metal pivot balls all the way through. There's a pass hobby motor. But it has been a labour of love. It's basically what's made me fall in love with the 3S platform. Mainly because how interchangeable everything is. I'm going to pause it now in a sec just to prove to you, obviously, that this was a Vortex once as well, guys, alright? So I've got some parts I can show you from where, obviously, I've changed the car. But I love this car. It's absolutely crazy. It's a good bit of fun. And it's now going to be my road basher and high traction. Hey guys, so we're back. So as you can see, this was my Vortex boost shell. I actually literally gave this an hammering. I have taken off the top rails because I've used them on something else, and as you can see, I've made some different holes because basically as the car was progressing, it went from a short wheelbase to a long wheelbase, and we ended up cutting the back off to accommodate for the shock towers. But yeah, that's initially what the car came with. It did look a lot better than this mine, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, this is the one. Drilled some little holes in the side for the motor to get some air for the fans. And so this is the electrics package that it actually comes with. So it comes with a little nylon geared Spectrum 650. Obviously we've upgraded that. Comes with a 12 turn brushed motor. To be honest with you, this lasted all of two days. I did run it once or twice, but we soon changed it out. Now, if someone starting off in the hobby is going to be absolutely fine, but I knew straight away that I needed more power. So obviously that's when I started ordering parts. And this is the Spectrum receiver and ESC all in one. To be aware, guys, obviously they do come with IC5 connectors, so you need to be aware of that. Make sure your batteries do apply. But this is the receiver itself. As you can see, you can run it on NA/MH batteries and also LiPo. And as you can see, there's a little jumper there that allows you to select between one or the other. That's my big rock servo that I've just changed out. Gearing wise, now let's see if I can show you that. 2 seconds. Okay, so when we were talking about 48 DP, 32 DP and everything else that I was speaking about, so that's initially the spur gear that comes with the car. All right, see if I can open this up with one hand. Bear with me. I'm going to press pause 2 seconds. I can lay them out and show you then. Right guys, so obviously now I've got them out, I can actually show you. Right, okay, so this is initially what comes with the Arrma boost range. As you can see, very fine teeth on there. This is the 48 DP. It's a single plated slipper gear. The actually slipper pad that goes on there. And then you've got the assembly that goes through. And it also comes with this little 15 tooth pinion. Very fine teeth. And what I was finding is I was actually chewing these up on a regular basis. So I then changed over, and this is the infaction. Now, I ran this and ran this and ran this and ran this for ages. And as you can see, all the teeth are absolutely fine. It's quite a good upgrade, this one, actually, if you just want to change over the center assembly into this one, because obviously this part pops out. All right, so you can change that out. And this is the gearing. As you can see, the actual difference in the gearing is quite substantial. Because of the bigger teeth, you actually end up being able, number one, to set your mesh a lot easier. Number two, when you're coming off jumps and stuff, because they're bigger teeth, I found that you know, even when the car flexes a little bit, these won't actually go out of mesh. Whereas this, if you came off a jump or something, it was quite easy to skip a tooth, and then you'd end up taking a tooth out, and then all of a sudden you end up with a strip sprue gear. But yeah, that basically is my project car. It's been through very many changes, but what I will say is I've got a strong affinity with the vehicle itself, pure and simply because it's actually what's got me back into the hobby, and made me want to do things like this, videos for you guys. That is the Vorphoon. Once Vortex, now a Typhoon. But I really liked wrenching on this car, and for me it's just as much a part of the hobby as it is actually running the car. But I have great fun with it. I really enjoy it. It gives me some peace and allows me to collect my thoughts and also just chill. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope this was interesting. If you'd like to ask any questions on any changes that I made to the car or how I did it, please mention, obviously put your comments in the comment section. Remember to like, remember to share, and remember to subscribe. And until next time, guys, thank you.